Well, Pete Hegseth ordered hundreds of high-ranking government officials to Quantico in what could have been an email. We're going to share this story. It was our taxpayer money. GOP Senator Tom Tillis on Pete Hegseth bringing generals to Quantico for event. I think it could have been done virtually. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, right? This could have been a Zoom call. I'm not really sure why we brought so many people here and off their frontline positions. I don't really know why it had to be such a production. They could have read what was said today. They could have been on a Zoom or a private call, done the same thing, saved a lot of money, kept them focused on the primary mission, which is for deployment in many cases. Yeah, look, there's people that said, no, I agree with what Pete Hegseth said. Sure, he wants people to shave, whatever. What are they working at an In-N-Out? Who cares? Shave. They can put the little hairnet on too. Really, he doesn't want them to be obese. I mean, while they're operating the drones that are killing innocent lives in other countries. Whatever. That's not the point. The point is they schlepped all of these men there for a stunt. That's why they filmed it with 5 cameras, so that it was like the Pete Hegseth wanting a demo reel for how he would cosplay being a president in future elections. And he will absolutely use that demo reel to campaign with when he runs for senator or whatever is coming next. Mark Warner responds to the lies that are being told about the government shutdown. That's right. The government is shut down. Shut it down, baby. And the Republicans will claim the shutdown is because Democrats want to provide free health care to illegal immigrants. Let me first say this. I think we should all pay into a healthcare system that is universal. That way, if you skin your knee, you can just walk in and get a Band-Aid. If your heart feels weird, go get a cardio, whatever the hell it's called. If you have an issue, go get it fixed. Get in the wait list or whatever. People in Canada say, well, it'll take 3 months before you can get seen for your hip. Are you kidding me? In the United States, people just limp. 60,000 people a year die because they can't afford and won't even go get something checked on. All preventative illness, right? And that's why things like the food stamp program, SNAP benefits are good. Not only do they provide an instant return on their investment, say for every dollar your taxpayer money goes to giving food stamps to someone, there's a $1.50 return. It immediately helps the economy. Long term, the return is 56x. So for every dollar that you give in food stamp money, $56 comes back into the economy long term because you're helping people get back onto their feet. You're helping people get access to their own healthcare programs that they can afford and whatnot. So the more that you kind of give into the system to help people, the more the system works out. The reason why the Veterans Affairs is such a disaster, the reason why the universal health care that veterans have doesn't work is because it's just stressed. It's pulled too thin. We need a system that everyone can be a part of. So if you do feel a cough, you just go get your antibiotics rather than sneezing at work and making everybody else sick. You know what I mean? This is how it's supposed to work. This is how the richest country in the world is supposed to work. But instead, what is happening is Republicans are still playing that classic hit of theirs. They're just giving money so that trans kids can get their things lopped on or off or whatever. That's what they want you to think this is all about. Mark Warner posted this. These lies are pissing me off. This isn't about healthcare for undocumented immigrants. That's already against the law. It's about the fact that Republicans are intentionally skyrocketing your premiums.
Why is free health care for illegal aliens seemingly the hill you guys are willing to die on?
One, the premise of your question is factually wrong. And I would urge you to actually look at the law, which prohibits any undocumented person from receiving any kind of health care benefits. That is the law. If the Trump administration is not enforcing the law, then I would ask the president. And I also say the president has made repeatedly clear, and this, I don't know, I often agree with Donald Trump, but on this one, he's 100% right when he said repeatedly, years back when he was not in office, if you got a government shutdown, it's the president's job to resolve that.
Right. If there is a
All right, so we know all that. We've heard the president say it, right? The fish rots from the head.
shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States.
And that's, of course, now, play the Curb Your Enthusiasm music because Trump's the president, and this is his country that is now shut down, folks. Wrap it up. But he doesn't care because he's going to use this as the excuse to continue to lay off people, fire people, cut all of that spending so they can afford the tax cuts that are going to the ultra wealthy. Sometimes I feel like I say this out loud and it goes right over people's heads. It's easier messaging to say, but they're trying to fund trans legal immigrants. But that's just not the case. Think smarter. So here's what Trump has to say.
We have a big fight over that. We have a fight over open borders. They still want open borders. We're having a fight over men and women's sports, if you believe it.
Playing the
hits. You would
hits.
have thought they would have learned that it's not a good issue. And we have a fight in transgender, as you know, transgender for everybody.
There it is. Transgender for everybody. Not for some, for all. We've unified over what is he talking about? In fact, some people are saying, I think we need to get him out of office. And some people might be saying, yeah, we've been saying that for months. Well, now the governor of Illinois is saying, how about that 25th Amendment talk? How about that?
Governor J.B. Pritzker tonight is calling for President Trump to be removed, asking for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. It is in response to President Trump telling military leaders earlier today that, quote, dangerous cities like Chicago should be used as a training ground for the military. Our political reporter Marianne Ahern with the story.
I've never walked into a room so silent before this.
President Trump today meeting with military leaders with a bold reference to Chicago.
We should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, national
And then again, people will say, oh, he's just joking. He's just making jokes. And then, of course, he does it, and then we move on to the next thing. And the news cycle is like drinking water out of a fire hose. There's no accountability. There's no time to prosecute any of the things he's saying. And when called out, there's just nonstop deflection. Here we have Brian Tyler Cohen discussing Donald Trump's deficit. We live in a country that has the greatest deficit of all time. The Republican Party in the past claimed to be a party of small government, reducing the debt, things like that. They only want to reduce the debt when there's a Democrat in office.
I mean, when we talk about this idea that the government is too big, that there's too much spending, I mean, it is, Mick, it's your party. It's Donald Trump that is adding trillions and trillions and trillions to the debt because they want to give themselves tax cut. Donald Trump added
tax cuts for the rich. Yeah. We've had this conversation. All right.
We've had this conversation because it's the reality of the situation. I mean, the Republicans just passed a budget bill that would add $4 trillion to the debt.
$4 trillion. So I get it. Okay.
I mean, you can scoff it off, but it doesn't change the math.
Mick, it doesn't. But it doesn't move us where we are. Who's going to give up in this? The Democrats are going to give up because they're asking for something.
Well, I mean, don't change the subject. I mean, you brought up the fact that the government was too big, and so I said the government is too big because Republicans are spending too much, and you switched topics. So is it not the Republican Party that's added a quarter of all debt in Trump's first term, and that added $4 trillion because of this budget?
Mick, I'll give you the response. Okay. No, I'm not going to talk about COVID and the bipartisan bills that passed. Look, if we want to talk about the government shutdown, we can, but I'm not going to debate a podcaster. So, okay.
There it is. I'm not going to debate some podcaster. Let me tell you something. That podcaster, he makes about 50 times as much money as you do. That's a very popular podcaster because he speaks truth to power. So the government keeps putting us into a greater debt, and yet with that, Trump continues to get richer. Doesn't this piss anybody off? We continue to raise the debt that we saddle on the backs of future Americans, and Trump doubles his money. And there's a bunch of people making high 5 figures, low 6 figures. Their farms are getting shut down. Inflation means they can't even afford red meat anymore. And for some reason, they still haven't seen the problem yet. That's okay. We'll continue to beat the drums of what the problem is, which is Trump's using the government as his personal law system to go after his enemies. And he's rigging it through his own crypto scams and whoever, who knows what other sort of money laundering things he's got going on through his crypto coins. And he's literally doubled his wealth. Doubled it just in months time. That's what's going on here. So anyway, back to Pete Hegseth. What the hell went down at Quantico? Well, here is a reporter who reports from the Pentagon saying, I have yet to find one military official who doesn't think Pete Hegseth is a buffoon.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who just repeated his very familiar litany of culture war issues that he has made his hallmark. I have yet to find a single military official who was in the audience today who thought that this was a good presentation. All I've had from them so far, from the people I've talked to, is a combination of disbelief that they were made to fly, some of them from Asia, from around the world, from bases in Europe and in even Africa, all the way to Quantico in Virginia, to listen to the same very familiar type of culture war complaints.
Yeah, also Pete Hegseth could get a little demo reel for his future aspirations. That's all it was. It was a propaganda film. It was the same thing like when they, put bags over all of the folks that they sent to the detention center in El Salvador, right? It was the same thing. They just wanted to make a great video that they could package together and use it at their will. And how much did that cost? Are these all private flights, military flights that they all took? That's our money. That's our money that we, spent to have them be sent all over the world so that Pete Hegseth could give himself a pat on the back. He literally was a low-ranking, what was he, a cap? He was in the military, and then he became a Fox News Sunday morning host, whatever he was. And now he's the top dog, and you have these military officials who have fought for their country for 20, 30 years looking at him going, "You fucking buffoon." They don't believe it. They're not buying it, and neither are you. Polls show that. Neither are you. We'll be back in the morning. If you enjoy the content, hit the subscribe button. You can put some bread in the tip jar. Go to patreon.com/Dave Neal if you want to join the membership-only community. We'll see you then. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.